Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of Mark Talks Men's Health. We are here today to introduce Adam Jones. He is one of my very closest friends. We talk to each other nearly all the time offline. He was there at my wedding. He was there when we met each other doing protests. He organised quite a lot of the protests when Reading were going through a hard time. He is an absolutely superb human being. There are disclaimers in this as well. There are some hard topics that we had to discuss. There was a lot of technical difficulties. At one point, my laptop decided to die, where it just cut everything out for me. So I'm going to try. Hopefully, I edit it out. So that happened, and also there was a lot of technical difficulties on Adam's side as well. So it's funny. We had this discussion in the show as well, where I said that for some reason, when I record with people from the UK, it dies. The internet, everything goes. But if I record with someone overseas, absolutely fine. So yeah, that's what's coming up for you in this episode. Also, at the end of the episode, when Adam leaves, please stick around because I have some things that I need to get off my chest, and what is coming up as well. I did a video on this channel a few weeks ago, but some things have changed, and I want to get the full of the future of this channel out there and how I'm feeling and the way I'm feeling at the moment because a lot has happened. I've had an absolute shite week. I recorded this on the 10th of August, and the whole of the last week, the only light was it was my wife's birthday. But we're going to get into that in this episode. So stick around because you do not want to miss this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode. If you haven't seen already this series, this is Mark Talks Men's Health. This is on the Mark Talks brand, where we also got two other channels as well. They are down. We will go through that later on in the episode, down in the banner down below. But last week we had Johnny Hunt, who was who I hadn't interviewed in. I think we worked out was about 8 years. Was the last time I sat down and spoke to him, and that was when I was doing solely Reading Football Club stuff. We talked about that with him, about men's mental health and his walks that he's done in the past and what he would like to do moving forward. And we've also had Melville Collins, Andre, Bobby, we've had my brother. And today is a guy that turned up to my wedding, who I invited to. He didn't just randomly turn up, by the way, I just said that. He came to my wedding. We had a lovely day out. He got absolutely hammered. Also, he got very drunk on the stag do. At one point, we had to stop him drinking because he couldn't know from his arse to his elbow. That was at one point during it. But Adam, how are you? How are things?
Yes, yeah, very well, thank you. I think we said a while back that I'd probably come back on in some capacity, but I thought it was going to be kind of Reading stuff. So, but no,
Oh,
this is a welcome change, and it's good to
yeah,
talk about things other than Reading, especially at the moment, at the time of recording when we've just had two losses.
exactly. There is a Reading thing that I'm doing, which I will be messaging you about soon.
Yeah.
That I am going to be doing in the future. So that's it. But the first question that we ask everyone, the first question that we always ask everyone on this show, is what to you is a man? If you could describe a man, not what you've seen, not it's an open-ended question, it's a hard question. But if you could describe what a man is, what is a man to you?
I've never really thought too deeply about it, to be honest with you. There are so many types of men that it's difficult to really describe it. I mean, you'd often associate men with masculinity, but I don't think that's really the case. I think of men as just an adult boy, and that is literally it. I've never put too much thought into what attributes they must have. I think it's just, yeah, men are just an adult boy. They come in all shapes and sizes and forms, and yeah, I think that's pretty much my answer. Very simple one, but yeah, as I said, I've never really thought too deeply about it in the past.
It's one of those questions that we talk to everyone about. It's always the first question that I ask. It's because there's so much going in the world today that a man is a different perspective to different people. And we're going to jump into it. And I do apologize for jumping into things quite. tough to start off the show. I am going to make things light, and we are going to have a fun questions at the end, but there are some topics that we need to sort of discuss. But we've got people in the world right now like the Andrew Tates, you've got the Tommy Robinsons, you've got the Donald Trumps, you've got all of those type of old school masculine type men that they want to describe. We see a lot, if you see the show Adolescence, about how they are sort of manipulating society today. I want to get your take. Now, there's a two-part question, but I'm going to ask the first part. What do you think of the as people call it, the toxic masculinity that they potentially portray, but want to know what in your eyes, what do you think about them and what they're trying to portray to young men of today?
I think I think you talk about quite a few figures there. I think Andrew Tate is just not someone that you follow, not with his previous track record, not with what he says. Of course, there's a difference between what someone says and what someone does, but when you incite things like Andrew Tate does and have the attitude that he does, that's never going to be a good thing. And it's a bit of a tragedy, really, that some boys see him as a role model. I don't know how he got his fame, but it's just a massive shame, to be honest with you, because there are plenty of good role models out there, and he's not one of them, unfortunately.
What would you say about, you've got a streamer called HS TikToky. I don't know if you know anything about him, and a certain streamer called Ed Matthews. They are very much in the masculinity of what is your take on the message that men have to be the provider, have to be the mainstay, have to be the be end of end all. If your woman's not right, you should just get rid of her. What is your thinking of that, and how society today is taking that? Oh, we got a bit of technical difficulties here. Can you hear me? And right, so there could be a couple of issues during this recording. The connection between us, as we've seen so far this series, by the way, if I record with someone in the United Kingdom, we struggle. I record with someone that's overseas, somehow connection's perfect. Anyway, so we were
Yeah.
talking about HS TikToky and the toxic masculinity and all of that type of thing. I want to get your take. What is your take on that, and how do you think society is going to look at this moving forward?
I think it's really, really difficult. I think we live in a world now where political, the more extremes kind of politically are coming in. Um, and I think that's really, really difficult. I think that often there's a part of me that thinks that's contributing to boys looking up to people like Andrew Tate. And yeah, I think you're more of a man if you treat a woman correctly. That's my take on it. I think it's poor to treat women as objects. So for me, I think it's sorry, someone just going past is distracting me. But I think, yeah, I just think that we need good role models to really ensure that we're bringing up people right and they have the right attitudes, and that and yeah, I definitely think that's the case. We just need better role models.
Okay, let's talk about you, and let's talk about you growing up. Your main role model, I presume, is your dad. How influential was he on your life, and a little bit of what was he like growing up for you, as the main role model in your life, male role model, shall we say?
Uh, yeah, my dad, yeah, I think he's probably the perfect kind of role model. Of course, he was born in the 60s, so it was a completely different time at that point. But no, I can't really have any complaints. He's always treated my mother quite well. Um, and yeah, I think he's been perfect. He's been very influential. Worked very hard to get to where he is now. So, I really admire his ethic and determination. And I've always tried to take that with me. I think that he probably worked harder than I did to get to where he is. But no, he's been fantastic, and I can't ask for a better role model to have, to be honest with you.
For you growing up, what was the influence? What was the main rules that he set for you growing up? Was it strict? Was it fluid? Did you guys openly talk to each other about feelings and stuff like that? What was it for you growing up in that environment?
I Yeah, I think I mean, talk about mental health at that point. It was, I'm only 25, but even back then, in the 2000s, it wasn't really, you didn't really hear the phrase mental health. But he always kind of helped when I was upset and things like that. We always talked if I was down. So it wasn't one of those things where, he'd sit me down and we'd have a regular chat. But he always helped when I needed it. So that's part of the reason why I grew up and had a very happy childhood is because my feelings were validated. They understood me, they empathized, um, and that's really really good. So I'm very grateful to have that upbringing that I had.
So with you growing up, and I presume the influence of football, because you guys will know Adam is a Reading fan. What was the influence of football on your life with you and your dad? Was that a bonding chance for you two to go to games? Was that the like what I'm doing with my daughter now? You'll know because you've been there with us, where I take my daughter to all the home games. We went into the first home game of the season. And then she had a whole season ticket last year where we went to all of the games during the protest. We and her turned up early to help you distribute sheets that we needed to give out as well for the protest that we were doing. So for me, with her, that's my father daughter time because of my work and stuff that I can solely concentrate with my daughter. With my son, it's a completely different way of doing things because he's a non-verbal autistic. I can't do the stuff that people would class as a normal dad son experience. I have to do mine
Yeah,
a lot different. So for you, what was that like?
yeah.
What was the thing that you and your dad really bonded over growing up and really was just you and your dad's time?
I think it was mainly Reading. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I got a season ticket in 2008 for the 08-09 season, our first season back in the Championship, and we went together for about 10 years. I seasoned it for about 10 years before I had to concentrate on university. So, that was the main time really when we kind of really spent time together, just us two, and it was really, really nice. We had, I think the football was often very good as well, and we had a lot of success during that time. So, it wasn't as if we had a miserable time regularly. We always had a really, really good time. Didn't have to worry about what was happening off the pitch. So no, it was great, and kind of winning promotion with him, alongside, and getting to the FA Cup semi-final and that sort of thing, and getting to a playoff final, a couple of playoff finals actually. So, but it was really, really good. That's the time that we really had together. Even though we spent time together at home, it was just fantastic to have Saturday afternoons together, and also some midweek fixtures. Some Tuesday nights. It was really really good. Created some great memories from it, and I'm grateful to have those experiences.
Let's talk about you and let's talk about yourself because we we talk a lot behind the scenes. When I first started doing this podcast, you were very helpful with me trying to lay out the ideas for what I was trying to do. Coming up, coming on a few times as well while you were doing. I think you were doing the Tarlust End
Yeah.
podcast and stuff like that. You were doing with that. Let's talk about your time then. Okay, let's talk about before the revolution. I'm going to call it the evolution of your roles, because you went into something different in a certain time. But let's talk about that
Yeah.
era around about 8 years ago. I think it was 8 years ago when we first properly had a chat and talked. You were doing a lot of stuff. You were at uni. You were doing the Tarlus Then podcast. You were doing a
Yeah.
lot of fans forums as well, talking to them. You were doing a lot of stuff. What was it for you that made you really want to get into doing the Tarlus Then stuff and doing the Reading FC chats that you were doing? And how did you get into that?
So, I mean, I think it was like seeing Charles Watts' articles and stuff. I think, I looked at some of his content and I felt like that I really wanted to do something similar. And, I didn't 100% know what I wanted to do when I was, 16, 17. So, I got into journalism by kind of doing media at A level. And then I obviously got into university. I can't quite remember when I started the Tyler. I think it was kind of early stages of uni. And I
Yeah.
kind of just contacted the editor and managed to get in that way and started doing the match previews, and that was kind of a route into it for me. So that was really really good. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and I did the match previews in the end for God knows how long. Did them for quite a long time, about 6 7 years. So yeah, it was a long time, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and it was really really good.
Let's talk about the Tarlus Then. It's very much I would say a stablemate, I think, in the Reading Football Club community. I think that's probably the right word to say. It's always got the right things to do at the right time. They always the in-depth analysis of matches after the game has always been great. The way that they build up and talk about the current, that they always have a spreadsheet somewhere talking about how they're doing with the contracts. They're always at the right time, at the right place, doing the right thing. When you were working with them, what
Yeah.
was it that merely made them be like a, because it was voluntary, if I remember correctly as well. It's a voluntary type thing to do. But what was it for you that really made them stand out and do or really think about things differently compared to everyone else?
Oh,
Oh,
I
here we go.
think you cut out quite a lot then.
Okay, so
Gonna
Talos
pause the
then.
recording, then we'll start it again.
No. We will do the show. Will go on, ladies and gentlemen. The show will go on. You're thinking of how Talos End are at the way they
Yeah.
are now, always on the point, always know the pulse of where they need to be, talking about contracts, talking about the debts, stuff like that. How do you think they've got to where they are, and where do you see them going in the future?
They got to where they are because of the commitment from the key figures there. Wim started it up. He, committed to it, wholeheartedly, and then he passed it on to Sim, who was, he takes so much pride in the website. So, having those committed people is so important. Now you've got Ben and Ross doing the podcast, who are consistent. I think having that consistency is the absolute, key to it. And I think in terms of what the future holds for the Tarlos, then I think it's just about adding to the offering that they give supporters. I was going to say we, but I'm kind of not a huge part of it anymore. But adding more columnists, doing more content, which is really really important, and hopefully I can become kind of involved again in some capacity in the future. Obviously, it's not been easy. Obviously, I've done Sell Before We Die, currently on Starboard, so there's lots to be done. But I would like to do a bit again for the Tyler End, and there's some great writers there. So I think for them, it's just continue to evolve and kind of improve the offering to supporters, even though it's free. But yeah, they're doing fantastic at the moment. I'm sure they'll go on to do great things again in the coming years.
Before we get into your next type of role that you sort of took the next step in, Reading had the period. If you don't know anything about Reading Football Club's history and you're just watching this, learning about it, Reading Football Club had an owner called Di Youngie, probably one of the worst run clubs it was in the whole of the football pyramid where players weren't getting paid, staff weren't getting paid. There was points where we were trying to sell players to try and fund a week's worth of wages for someone. We were getting rid of people. We only had 2 cleaners in the stadium. We went from a pack of staff were being let go. It was going downhill, and we lost. I think it was 18 points, if I'm correct. We got deducted.
Yeah.
18 points in total under his ownership. Before we get into your new role, the role that you went into as a campaigner, I want you to talk about your mental health status during this time. We know that football is a culture, would we say, in England, where your life sort of. I'm lucky to have different sports that I revolve my life around. But there are people that will have solely one, and that's Reading Football Club. And when that was going to go bust, people's mental health was going down. And that's why we spoke to Johnny Hunt last week, where he was doing Talking Royals to try and help other fans and doing other things. But for you, what was it like for your mental health during this time? And how did you sort of turn that into, because I know what you did. I know what you did because we spoke a lot behind the scenes. But how did you turn that into something to push yourself forward, into try something different? What was how was your mental health affected during that time?
I think for me, it really helped doing Sell Before We Die stuff. I was always keen anyway to become involved in the campaign group because I felt that Di Young's tenure had come to an end. Now, I think people have got to remember in the summer of 2023, not everyone was on board with getting him out. A lot of people still wanted to give him another chance. But we were, as a group, we were clear that we wanted to push for a sale regardless. I think for me, it was really important to get involved in something like Sale Before We Die because we don't know the impact that we had on a sale. I think it would be disingenuous to say that we caused a sale because there was a lot of moving, a lot of factors involved in it. But it was just good, I think, for my well-being to get involved and actually try and do something. And I think that kind of really helped me through that really tough period as a Reading supporter. And I think it was really heartening as well to see so many supporters come together to try and make a difference, and that kind of made things a lot better as well because we were all in the same boat and we all went through it together. So that was really, really good. I think what made me get involved is the fact that I felt that Di Young's time at Reading needed to come to an end. Now, not everyone was on board with that at the time in summer 2023, but we thought as a group that something needed to be done to try and get him out. So, I was really kind of really keen to get involved, and I'm glad that I did in the end because it brought us. Of course, there was like negatives, and we got some stick sometimes. Of course, we did, and some of it justified. We did some protests which weren't brilliant, um, but it was just great to see that 99% of fans were on board and kind of bought into kind of what we did. So that was great. And without all Reading fans, we wouldn't have
Do you think
been
as
so
yeah, and
successful kind of in the national media and with the protests.
yeah, and I do think that some of the stick that you lot got was some sort of justified to a certain point. I think the one thing that Reading fans felt, or the ones that when I spoke to you and when we spoke to the ones in general, were very worried that this protest would affect a lot of things, that it would affect the players. We got relegated after, I think, the first type of protest we were trying to do. We then got relegated. Then things started to get worse. And then we were trying to find a manager. The manager wasn't coming in. We had a pre-season that basically started the first game of the season when we were doing that. And things were just going a little bit downhill for it. But what I want to do to you is I want to, because I know I haven't got much left of your time from this, because I know you've got to go on to other things, but I would like to read you some statistics, if that's okay with you, Adam. And I want to get your instant reaction to hearing some of these statistics, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I hope you can hear me. Yeah, perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
okay.
going to be talking about men's mental health in the Reading area. Perfect. The Reading area we're going to be talking about because we know that it's in a downward side, so issues talk and at the same time we can get more and more discussions happening. But first, we're going to be talking about Reading. In the year of 2020 to 2022, the suicide rate stood at 9.2 per 100,000 people, which is slightly below the national average of 10.3. Importantly, almost 3 times as many males died from suicide compared to females. There was 162.6 emergency hospital admins per for internal self-harm across all ages, similar to the England average of 163, and notably lower than the broader southeast region of 179. But we're going to be talking about the UK now. Around 12.5% of men in England experience mental health disorder at any given time. Suicide accounts for 95 to 96% of all suicides in the UK. It is the leading cause of death among men under 35. Over only 36% of NHS referrals for talking therapies are made for men, pointing to a disparity in course. 40% of men have never cite embarrassment and 20% stigma as barriers. The main reported sources of mental health pressures for men are work related, financial, and health concerns. 79% of men now say it's more socially acceptable to discuss mental health than 5 years ago, and 27% have undergone therapy in 2022, up from 18% in 2010, but lagging behind women. I know during that whole chat that we were lagging between each other. I'm hoping you were able to be able to get some of that what I read out. But I want to get your thoughts and your takes on the issues and some of those statistics that we spoke about in men's mental health.
Yeah, it's a massive shock, isn't it? Like the fact that, it's the biggest kind of killer for men under 35. I think that's really, 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 really powerful statistic. I think that's why there's been such a push on discussing mental well-being in recent years, and I'm so glad that conversation has gone national. I think that obviously talking about mental well-being has been on the agenda, certainly in the national media's agenda for some time now, which is great. And I think that needs to continue. Obviously, it's not the norm for men to speak about how they feel, even though it's 2025. So that needs to continue. And I think, there are so many simple things that you can do to check up on people. Now, some people are obviously going to put up a barrier and pretend that they're okay, but others, I think, would be more willing to talk. So I think it's always good to speak about your mental well-being and set the example yourself, and and then hopefully other people will follow, but sometimes it will take longer for people to open up, so being patient as well is also important.
So, right.
But yeah, 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 that's all I have to say on that one.
Yeah, no. So, no, that's absolutely fine. Right, we're going to end off now in a just ending off. I will be having a continued conversation with you guys at home because there's some things I needed to get off my chest, but that will be happening after Adam leaves, and I will be talking to you guys at home. But as Adam leaves, and as we've had all of the guests here so far, we're going to be doing a quick fire questions round. All I need to know is just have a bit of fun to end the show because we just had a very serious conversation and we need to lighten the mood slightly. So we have 10 questions for you. They're going to be light, they're going to be fun, and I want to get your instant,
Yeah,
whenever you get this, your instant reaction. Right, first up, tea
yeah.
or coffee?
Tea.
Okay, one thing that is instantly lifts your mood.
Music.
Last show you binge watched.
The In-Betweeners.
great show. What's your go-to mental reset button?
Oh, I think going out for a walk. I think just to reset.
Dream holiday destination.
I quite want to go to Dubai.
A small habit that's really helped your mental health.
Watching ASMR.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
it
you
helps.
could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ability to teleport.
Good lad. That's a good shout. Favorite comfort food after a tough day?
Um, I have to say sometimes chocolate. I think is pretty good.
Who do you text or call when you're feeling low?
God, um, that's a problem, really. I don't think I do. I think I just, in the end, I try and kind of get over those barriers. Don't think I necessarily reach out to many people. Certainly not my kind of like my mates. I don't think. So I don't really text. I usually kind of speak in person.
Okay. One piece of advice you'll give to your younger self about mental health when they grow up.
Never be afraid to ask for help or to go to the doctors and ask for help. I mean, I had anxiety counselling when I was 17. You know, I went to counselling, and you know, I know that therapy isn't the the answer for everyone, but it helped me to speak to someone kind of external, kind of out of kind of the loop of my life. I think it's good to have kind of a sounding board, someone external. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice.
Perfect. Well, Adam, I know we've had technical difficulties, but it's always an absolute pleasure to have you on. You are a true gent. You're an absolutely brilliant human being. If you haven't gone to follow him on socials, I will put a link to his X and everything down below, so you can go and check him out with all the stuff that he's got coming on and what he's got coming up. He will be able to give you a little bit of light, and you'll be able to see what he does. But he is an absolute insight. So, Adam, before we go, is there any question you would like to ask me before you leave?
Oh, um, when are we next going to meet up before a game?
Well, when you decide to not go in about an hour before kickoff, and you could
Yeah,
actually come and meet us before next, if we
yeah,
see, if you're whenever you're at the next game, message me and we'll meet
yeah.
up, and we will definitely do that. I
I've
think
got
that's a proper way to do
I've
it.
got a season. Yeah, I've got a season ticket now. I'm not at Wimbledon, but
Oh,
I'll probably be at the next home game. So
perfect.
we'll see each other. I'm sure,
Absolutely.
and not just from about 50 yards away.
Just randomly, some people must have thought we were crazy. By the way, we started waving
Yeah,
at
I
each
know.
other, and then
Yeah,
Matthew couldn't clock what Adam was doing. So then I then had to carry on waving
yeah,
and point at him. So some randoms will probably thought I was going doolally. But Adam, I'm going to
yeah.
let you go. Thank you guys ever so much. Thank you for ever so much for coming on. Stick around to everyone watching at home because I have got some things to say. Okay, so this is the different ending that I was planning on doing. I've recorded this about 5 times, trying to find the words to express this and how I'm feeling because I've been told multiple times that I'm not allowed to say certain type of things. So here is my honest opinion. I am not allowed to be a part of our local establishment anymore. Fair enough. The sad thing about it is I have lost so many friends because of this that I feel was so unwarranted that it has hurt every inch of me. So over the past week, I got informed I was no longer going to be a content creator on our local establishment. I was then informed that I will not be able to pick out any of my content creations that I've been making on a stream, on a Canva. I wasn't allowed to go and get it because it wasn't mine, and they did it because they didn't want me to be on there. And then I got told that I wasn't allowed to use their system anymore. Fair enough. I tried to make a deal with them that I would be able to use that. I even signed a contract to say that I wouldn't fuck up anything else. They just decided not to. It all comes down to a point of I got extremely angry, and it was about 2 minutes after I was told I was no longer allowed to be on our local establishment anymore, where I angrily said that I am now going to make a video and shitting on everyone. Wrong thing to do. 100%. Completely and utterly the wrong thing to do. But what I don't understand and what I now struggle with is I was never going to do it. Ever. I have some of my best mates there. And for them to think I was actually going to do it, and for them to actually think that I was going to ruin friendships because we wanted to go in different directions in a created space. Okay. That's what hurt the most. Was I've seen it common from when I've spoke to people, was it was the fact of that you said you were going to do it. Why would I do it? I'm angry. I'm pissed. Of course I'm going to say shit that's going to get a reaction. And that's what I've struggled with. Every day so far, I've been told by someone else that they either not going to be a part of what I'm doing anymore. Fair. Because we all have at some point different lines of creation of what we want to do moving forward. We have different ideas, different ways of doing things. We have different ideas. Absolutely. I have an idea of where I want to go forward, where I just want to be open and honest the whole time and then learn along the way. What I've always done. And me being told what I can and can't say, and me being told I have to do things a certain way, I was getting to the point where I was slowly having enough. Because there was points where when I was making shows or doing shows that no one would turn up in, and there was becoming a point where there was no respect. That's how I felt. So we've decided to go separate ways. I'm very upset and very sad that they have decided to stop most of the communication. I'm allowed on the Discord and talk about certain things, but no one replies at this precise moment. I think time's going to be a healer. And on the Martin Talks Wrestling brand, we have a WWE 2K25 series where I told them all, if you are not happy, go. I want to do it now so we can change the way we're going to do things. There was a lot of conversations. At the end of the day, I made the decision for the majority of them to go and say, look, I am very much rather us sort our friendships out than me keep messaging you when we need to give each other space. So that was what was agreed between all of us in the end. A couple of them did say that they didn't want to do it, and I asked for an explanation. Didn't really get one from one. The other one did. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's reaching, but that's up to them. As I said, I have no ill feelings towards them at all. I'm just upset. I think that's probably the right things I can say. I'm upset. But we move forward. So what is going to happen moving forward? There was a guest that was going to come on next week that's no longer going to come on with us anymore. It was on the lines of what's happened over the past few days. And when this person said that, I went, that's probably the best thing to do. So next week is going to be a solo episode where I'm going to talk about what I've tried to do to combat what I'm doing right now, how I've been dealing with it, what I'm going to do to try and deal with it better, how I've been doing things, what I'm looking to do moving forward, those type of things. I'm going to have a real in-depth, open and honest chat with you all moving forward. You'll see that things may look different moving forward because I'm trying different things. I'm also going to be doing different things at the end of September on Mark Talks Football and Mark Talks Wrestling. We're going to be doing a lot more different things on there. So just stick around. Really do stick around. Really do look out for what's going to be coming your way, because I can honestly say now that I have freedom in doing what I want to do, I'm much more excited now of what the content creation I'm going to be doing. I'm not getting paid for any of this, by the way. I do this for, one, my mental health, two, because I fucking love it, and three, I love to create content and try and just be myself. I'm not being a character. I'm not being a different dimension of a way of doing things. I'm not going on the internet to be one person and be a different person off it. What you see right now is what I am when I'm with my wife and my kids. Exactly this. So, we're going to end it there. I hope to see you all next week. Love you all, guys, so much. You guys are absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're Mark. You guys have been amazing.